Ladies and gentlemen, unmute your microphone. This is the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident fanalist, as always, Ryan Schlip. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_data. Well, I didn't plan this out very well. I'm waking up today, I'm like, hey, combines today, woo! And it's like, so, what are we doing? It's like, well, I guess we'll wait for the combine. It's like, okay, well, it's not done till like, 7 o'clock at night? Are you going to do both podcasts starting at 7 o'clock at night? I don't think so. So, I had planned on discussing the combine the day of the combine. Obviously, that's not going to happen, probably for either. I don't think I'm going to do the draft one either based on the combine. So, big change of plans today. Fortunately, I got up a little bit early, so that helps. And as I'm panicked and annoyed that I have to try to build out two things from scratch, and I don't know what the heck to do. I wasn't prepared for this. I just pull up the old YouTubes, procrastinating, and I come across this, and I thought, hey, gold mine. It took me 5 seconds. First of all, the title drew me in immediately, and then when I saw who it is, I know the guy annoys me. And then I listened to about 5 seconds, and I thought, okay, I need to just push record. I can't frickin'... I'm 33 seconds in. So we'll see how far we get. I'm 33 seconds in, and I was like, nope, we got to push record. I can't do this. So first of all, didn't this get canceled? No, it was posted 44 minutes ago. Maybe that was a different show that got canceled. Oh, it was The Facility, I thought The Facility was better, wasn't it? I like LaShawn McCoy. This frickin' Ocho guy, ugh. First of all, he does that thing, which apparently they train you to do this when you go to school, and it's perfect for some football players because football players are loud and in your face and real intense, and Ocho is just perfect for this role of I'm going to speak very intensely and very quickly and very matter-of-factly because it makes it seem like what I'm saying is very correct. If I say it with authority, it sounds more correct. And if I add a little rhythm to it, what we're going to do is speak with authority. Apparently it works on some kind of a weird psychological level. It must be one of those things where how some people can be hypnotized and some people can't. I'm one of those guys that can't, and I listen to it, and it's just freaking annoying to me. But I guess people like it. It's like, wow, this guy, he must be smart. First of all, and you'll understand why this annoyed me, the title, and it's significantly worse than the title within the first 20 seconds. Caleb Williams is the most talented quarterback in the NFL. Now, I saw that and I thought, okay, you know what, that might even be true. It might be true, depending how we're defining talented. I won't even necessarily argue it. I think he might be. I think I've even made the comment he might be more athletically gifted than Mahomes is. It's close. They do similar things, but in terms of his crazy, the crazy throw stuff, Caleb might have him by an inch. So I'm willing to tolerate the premise. Although I'm going to absolutely come down hard on the stupidity of pretending that means more than it does. But I can't even, I just wanted to listen to him talk about how he's most talented and then show a couple talented sidearm throws and then go, I couldn't even get there because it gets so much worse. Here we go.
If you only watch one piece of football content today, let it be this. Caleb Williams' end-of-year review. I'm going to show you all of Caleb Williams' touchdown passes of over 30 yards. This quarterback has truly lived up to the hype. I believe he is one of, if not the most talented quarterbacks in football playing right now, and I would go as far as to say all time.
Okay. See, I like how he says, I would go so far, and no further, mind you, as to say all time. Well, thank you for being slightly measured in that. So to be clear, the title was massively understating it because the title should have been, and if you were any good at clickbait, it absolutely should have been, Caleb Williams is the most talented quarterback of all time. I think I'm just going to freaking tweet that. I'm going to rewind this and start over because I stopped him right before he said something important. I want you to get the whole thing. Listen closely because there's a quiz at the end of this little 5-second rambling session here.
If you only watch one piece of football content today, let it be this. Caleb Williams' end-of-year review. I'm going to show you all of Caleb Williams' touchdown passes of over 30 yards. This quarterback has truly lived up to the hype. I believe he is one of, if not the most talented quarterbacks in football playing right now, and I would go as far as to say all time. Let the tape prove it to you. Right?
Listen, it's probably because I'm a data guy. You know what I mean? And I will say 1,000 times over 1,000 times that watching film is unbelievably important and all that stuff. But there is something that makes my skin crawl when people say things like the tape, the tape, the tape. Especially when it's used in context like this, by the way, is the reason I don't like it. It's such an like an arrogant, and people probably think this about like EPA or whatever, and it's fine. I don't give a damn. But it's such a like arrogant nothing statement. It's like if I say the tape, it's like this very haughty, high level, but it's also abstract, which I hate. Again, data is not abstract. You can disagree with it, but it's there and it's concrete. Every single centimeter of it is accounted for. You can see exactly what it is and exactly what it isn't. And if you like it, you can say exactly what it is you like about it. And if you dislike it, you have the ability, although nobody seems to want to use their mental capacities to describe why they don't like it because they don't even know what it's about, but that's fine. When a lot of people say the tape, they don't mean anything. And even if that's the whole, it's not defined. It's not defined. There's no definition of the tape. What people mean by the tape is essentially a stat. It's something that is perfectly defined. In other words, and this is why I don't like the tape. When me and 7 other stat nerds get together and we talk about EPA and we talk about Jordan Love's EPA, guess what? We're all going to say the exact same thing because there's only one EPA for Jordan Love. There's one. We all come to the exact same conclusion because it is a thing. The tape is not a thing. You get 10 film guys in a room to watch the tape on Caleb Williams in a game. They're going to come to 10 different conclusions. Because there is no definition of the tape. This is why you even have, it's like, how dare you argue with some former NFL player about his assessment of the tape? Because then there's some NFL linebacker who watched the tape and is fighting with him right now on Twitter. It's hilarious watching like backup quarterbacks, former backup quarterbacks and former pro quarterbacks arguing with each other about the tape. I'm sorry. I thought the tape was the tape. No! DeVondre Sweat got traded to the Jets for Jermaine Johnson. Straight up player for player trade. First of all, that's freaking hardcore and awesome. But man, if we could have got in on that DeVondre Sweat thing, that would have been sweet. We'll have to come back to that one. I haven't been able to process that. But do you get what I'm saying? And again, I'm not trying to come down on tape people because, again, it is very important. My issue is it's so freaking subjective. And it's not supposed to be. Theoretically, if you actually know what you're looking at, everybody should be able to come to the same conclusion. My problem is nobody does. So why am I supposed to take you seriously? But just leaving aside the whole tape thing, let's assume the tape used properly as opposed to how Ocho is using it. Actually intelligent people who actually watch the tape and do it properly. Let's just leave that aside and say that is a wonderful thing. I really hate to do this again, but I have to play it one more time because I've been rambling and I've been interrupting, and I want to make sure that we're clear on this, and I want to ask you this question. So I'll just get the question out first. I'm going to play this, 20 seconds, whatever. You can deal with 20 seconds again of this frickin' moronic nonsense. Dang, that's wild. DeVondre Sweat for Jermaine Johnson. That's crazy. And it's 2 dog crap teams that are not, it's like, okay, I don't This is why player-for-player trades don't happen. Like, well, you both got equally better and worse at the same time. Well done. Like, the Titans better now? Like, probably not. The Jets better? Probably not. Anyways, I'm all over the freaking place. Here is your question. You don't have to be a tape genius to figure this one out. You don't have to be any kind of a genius to figure this out. Tell me what the heck he said. Sorry, let me calm down and rephrase my question. Tell me why we can immediately discredit his claim, his arrogant, I'm a former player and I watch the tape and so I know things. You can't disagree with me because I point to the tape. I played football, so anytime I say the tape, you have to believe every freaking moronic thing I say, like Caleb Williams is the best player to have ever played, most talented player to have ever played the NFL at the quarterback position. Because I played football and I said the tape. Listen to what he says before he says the tape and how we're going to watch the tape. And we're going to just let the tape prove his point. See if you can pick out the little piece in here that he says that immediately makes me think, you don't know what the hell you're talking about.
If you only watch one piece of football content today, let it be this. Caleb Williams' end-of-year review. I'm going to show you all of Caleb Williams' touchdown passes of over 30 yards. This quarterback has truly lived up to the hype. I believe he is one of, if not the most talented quarterbacks in football playing right now, and I would go as far as to say all time, let the tape prove it to you. Right?
Okay. Did you catch that? I put a little beep in there for you. Let the tape prove it to you. Okay. He pulled out every touchdown pass of over 30 yards, stitched them together into a little collage, if you will, and is now going to let the tape prove it to me. Okay. Do you know what it's called when you stitch together 30-yard touchdown passes? That's called a highlight reel, Ocho. That's called a highlight reel. Do you know what it's called when you watch highlights and then say that you're watching the tape? It's called you're an idiot. That's what it's called. It does, however, get worse. And I don't know how much more of this, which is a visual thing, we can do. But I want to just play out at least this first play, and I'll try to describe it to you. Because my jaw dropped like 3 times already, and then I watched this play and I threw up my hands and thought this is the biggest waste of time. And either Ocho is just leaning into this whole like stupidity thing just because it's whatever, or he just doesn't really have the capacity for critical thinking. I don't know what else to say about this.
Right now, what defense are the coverage Cowboys in? Cowboys in what we call man free. Man free. Okay. Man.
He's teaching me things. I don't know about man free. What I have discovered about this is what he's talking about is single high safety, man coverage across the board. Makes sense. Man free. Man with a free safety. Okay. Thanks, Ocho. See, he knows stuff and I don't know stuff, and now I learn things.
Man with the free safety. That's why you call it man free.
Boom.
Trayvon Diggs, top the screen. He misses on the press. Caleb Williams.
Okay.
Just a dart.
So, dart. So man free means man across the board, essentially. The free safety in this case was a guy that just stood in the middle of the field. He offered nothing in this situation. So our first example is all man coverage. Now, if I were a quarterback, and I'm not, and I don't know anything about being a quarterback, and I were to play football with my friends, like let's say in 4th grade, I think probably the most difficult coverage I saw when I was in 4th grade and played with my friends at the park or in the backyard or front yard or wherever we played was man coverage. It was also the easiest coverage I saw because it was the only coverage I saw because it's just what we did all the time. It was just man coverage. It's the only thing that we ever saw. So it's possible this is a very difficult disguised coverage. You know what I mean? There's a lot of moving pieces. But I didn't notice that. I noticed that it was just man across the board. And then a defender fell, and a guy came wide open, and Caleb threw to a wide open receiver who had to slow down, and then the defender nearly caught up but didn't. And the receiver, fortunately, was able to accelerate enough to get away for the touchdown. So that's the first example. In our stitched together highlight reel is man coverage across the board in which a defender slips and a receiver gets 10 to 15 yards of separation, and Caleb slightly underthrows the ball. This is what the tape is supposed to show me, because he's going to say the tape and then man free and then what? I mean, he's not even describing what exactly the tape is telling me about why this is special. He just said man free. He said the defender missed on the press. And then he said, what, dart? You mean like a forward pass to a wide open receiver? Is that what we're referring to as darts these days?
See, Caleb Williams did stuff like this all season long.
Yeah. So did every quarterback in the NFL, Ocho. So did every single one that was fortunate enough to have man coverage in which the guy pressing your receiver slipped and your receiver came wide open. Every single one of them threw what you would describe as darts. I've already conceded that Caleb is shockingly gifted athletically, talented, right? Not necessarily a good quarterback, but very talented and gifted in his athleticism. Couldn't you find one of those plays even? You found a guy come wide open. This was a busted coverage, essentially, as an example of why Caleb is amazing.
Caleb Williams doesn't throw the ball. He lasers the ball. He zips the ball. He bullets the ball. He does not just throw a football, but this is about as easy as it gets. The tape is only going to get better.
What are we doing? What are we even bothering to do here? He says all that stuff. And then what? But, I mean, this is as easy as it gets, and then the tape gets better. Why did you even show that? And why did you talk about how impressive that was? And why did you bother saying he did that all year just to go on to say, yeah, but that was easy. That's stupid. Anyways, it's better. It gets better. What are we doing? Why? All right, let's take a break. We'll do one more and then we'll get out of here. I won't let this be all day. Okay. I keep checking like the next thing he says, and it's like we'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Again, glad y'all are here. Welcome in. We do these breakdowns and this end of year review for
I didn't skip anything, by the way. This is play number 2. He said it gets better. All right, here we go.
Caleb Williams, all of his passes over 20 plus yards.
You said 30 before, but okay.
Touchdowns. What defense are the Cowboys in right here? It looks like the Cowboys are in a cover 3 defense. Simply put, looks like he has a third.
This information becomes irrelevant, by the way.
Field safety has a third. Here's what I want you to see off this flea flicker. Caleb Williams, look at this.
Did you hear what he just said? Off this what now? Off this flea flicker? Okay, continue.
Ball. You would rather the running back not throw a lollipop out there because, sure, you watch.
Oh, yes. The poor victim, Caleb, has a lollipop thrown to him as the running back gets blasted from behind and the ball gets placed perfectly in his hands. But it's a little bit of an arched ball, that's for sure.
This on your couch or at your office, me in here in my basement. Yeah, it's casual. In real life, Caleb's like, bro, get this ball here because there's about 1,000.
Yeah, the running back got hit, so it's not really his fault. But, Caleb's a victim of all the horrible people around him. I know. Justin Fields was too. He's just such a victim.
Pounds of angry men chasing me. Now, he just throws a freaking rope.
A rope.
Laser.
First of all, that was not a rope. It was not a laser. It had a lot of arch underneath. It had a lot of air under the ball, which is good. That's how you're supposed to throw it. You shouldn't throw a rope down the field at all in that situation. It's a very deep ball.
It's not even a rope.
Oh, it was a touchdown. Okay.
Olamide Zaccheaus is touchdown, but let's run it back. Okay. Look how many yards he throws this in the year. Y'all count it with
me. I don't want to count it. I found it hilarious he went into what coverage it was. Do you know why it doesn't matter what coverage it was? Because it's a freaking flea flicker. Caleb has to read 0 things. It's a trick play. And it worked. Ben Johnson drew up a trick play. It's cover 3, as he said, 3 deep guys, okay? The 2 outside deep safeties or, whatever, they bit on the run. They started coming downhill fast, okay? Leaving one person deep. Guess how many people run routes deep down the field? 2. Meaning one of them is going to be what? Sorry, at least one of them is going to be what? Wide open. And so he starts counting by, because he can count by 5s. He said it was a 60-yard pass, which is great. That is far. I think a lot of people can do that, but that's far. Jordan can do that. Rodgers could do that. A lot of guys can do that. But yes, 60 yards down the field to, again, a wide open receiver, thanks to Ben Johnson. So far he's been benefited from a defender slipping and falling, and Ben Johnson pulling out a trick play at the right time, and the same garbage defense falling for it, biting on it. Do you see why I'm so skeptical every time somebody says the tape? And it's annoying as somebody who doesn't have, I didn't play football, and so a lot of people will look at it and they'll just take it for granted. Well, football man say tape say, and so say must be true. And then hilariously, when it comes to stats, what is the response? Oh, no stats, Bro, you can look up, you can definitively determine what the stat is. You can't verify what Ocho, shockingly you can, because he's not even, no, whatever, it doesn't matter. If you just spent, here's honestly part of what I think is happening. I think Ocho is, let's be as charitable as possible. He's overworked. He has a lot going on. He has a lot of shows, right? He's got Speakeasy and then that other one that just got canceled. And he's got a lot of things going on over at whatever stations he works for. And he works too many hours. He obviously spent a lot of time in the gym too, which takes a lot of his time. And, he's a busy man, very busy. And he, spends a lot of time getting dressed up nice and getting his hair done right and all that stuff. I mean, it's hard to do everything in a 24-hour day, because I think it would have been very, very possible to find really good examples of Caleb Williams, and Ocho, having played football, probably would have been more than capable of actually finding really good examples of Caleb actually reading defenses, making the right read based on the coverage, or at the very least, just finding some really impressive sidearm throws. You know what the problem with that is? That's going to take a lot of time. He's going to have to actually sit down and go play by play by play by play, because the NFL doesn't have filters for sweet sidearm throws. You know what they do have filters for? 30-plus yard touchdown passes. And so Ocho, being lazy, being overworked, simply hit a couple filters, then spent 3 hours making himself look good, then put the video up on his TV and starts speaking in such a way that says, please believe me because I speak with authority and I use terms like the tape and I describe the coverage so that you can be, kind of hypnotized by how brilliant I am. This is man free. This is cover 3. Hilariously, he says, and he starts stuttering, it looks like cover 3. I don't know, because I just pushed play. It's the first time I'm seeing this. But anyways, it just keeps getting better. And so the play is, I'm just going to pick highlights, and then I'm just going to use a ton of hyperbole and speak in a certain way and describe coverages and say the tape and man free and things like that. And then I will have proven my point. Please cut me my check now. Doing film review. Bro, Ocho is not doing film review. He's not doing year-end film review. he must have some kind of either obligation or he's got the speakeasy thing and he's trying to like get content going. So he's like, what if we did a year-in review thing? Fine. But he's not sitting around watching film. You know how I know that? Because when it was time to do Caleb Williams, he punched in 2 filters, 30-yard touchdowns, and then just watched those like 10 plays and said, okay, took some notes and recorded. This took him an hour to do in total, including like getting ready, picking out his chains, all that stuff. Got to have the right watch on. But this show that has $2.6 million subscribers is being given content of Caleb Williams is the most talented quarterback in the NFL. He later goes on to say in NFL history, and then shows a handful of highlight videos. Remarkable. Really, really, really well done. All right. That feels good to get off my chest. All right, so anyways, as announced, the Titans have agreed to send nose tackle DeVondre Sweat to the Jets for defensive end Jermaine Johnson. It does make sense for both teams. And I think it's fair to say the Jets are in the, well, maybe that's not necessarily fair to say. I think people are saying the Titans won the trade. The reason why, at least that I saw somebody say that, is because, well, Saleh isn't going to use somebody like DeVondre Sweat. Okay. Well, it doesn't necessarily, see, that's not how I would judge it. Last year, DeVondre Sweat was very valuable. The fact that Saleh came in and suddenly DeVondre Sweat's value drops to 0 is a loss. I'm not just going to pretend that that's not a loss. It is. And so it's what are you gaining above and beyond what DeVondre Sweat did last year, not so much what he would do this year, if I'm going to, view it that way. But that's kind of the thought process behind why, he's a valuable guy, but not to us. He'll be valuable to somebody else. For the Jets, I think this is a home run only because they have the number 2 pick in the draft and will be drafting a pass rusher. Who that is, still remains to be seen. I saw Ruben Bain just did his measurements and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see kind of how that pans out because that's a big question for him. But, that assumes they're going to get a good pass rusher. But if you do, you've gone out and replaced the guy that you just got rid of, and he's going to be younger, and you're resetting that rookie clock, and you've added Sweat. So win-win. Although, we can't pretend that you didn't just lose a pass rusher, I guess. Essentially kind of forfeiting that number 2 overall pick that could have added value instead of just replacing that. But whatever, it's fine. Fun stuff. Also via Jordan Schultz, teams apparently are inquiring about Bears defensive tackle Gervon Dexter. This might be a completely useless tweet, depending on the Bears' willingness to actually move him. You can call about whoever the heck you want. I'm sure there's calls about Pat Mahomes or whatever, but it doesn't really mean anything. How's Josh Allen doing over there? You looking to move on or anything interesting going on? And then trying to find a small things before because there's a lot of in-depth stuff here. Packers and Seahawks hosted a joint interview with Texas cornerback Malik Muhammad at the Senior Bowl. And then I just saw there was another corner that they just met with formally too, but I guess I didn't save that one. It doesn't super matter. They're going to meet with basically everybody, but it's always exciting to kind of hear these things. All right, let's take our final break. There's several, like I said, more in-depth things we got to get into. May have an answer on our special teams coordinator very soon. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. So we've already heard the special teams decision is likely to be made relatively soon, but it's looking like they're honing in. Nothing appears to be set in stone, but it looks like we're moving in a very particular direction via Rob Domofsky. Arizona Cardinals assistant special teams coach Sam Sewell is headed to Green Bay today to interview in person for the Packers special teams coordinator job, per a source. He was one of several candidates who had preliminary interviews. Final interviews expected to take place this week. Now, I don't know how many are in line. I mean, I think there were only like 5 or 6 that kept getting reported as having interviewed with the Packers for the special teams coordinator job. Sewell is one of them that we've already talked about. I haven't heard about anybody coming in person or anything to do additional interviews. It's entirely possible that this could be just he's getting signed here. They're going to sit down, they're going to have a chat. If everything goes well, make him an offer. I don't know how far along we are. I do know that we are to the point of we need to have an answer. We need a special teams coordinator. Frickin' hurry up. But, why not? Obviously, as I said, with coaching hires, we have such limited information to be able to make good determinations on whether or not this is going to be a good coach. And special teams coordinators, I think, would be even more difficult, especially assistant special teams coordinators. What the heck do we know about this guy? He was at Indiana State 2017 to 2018, Eastern Michigan 2019 to 2022, and then 23, 24, 25, he was with the Cardinals. Maybe he's a rapidly ascending, young, up-and-coming, bright young star. Who freaking knows, man? I don't know. I do know that special teams is very new to him, and so the rapidly ascending thing is definitely true. He was a running backs coach at Indiana State. He was a running backs coach at Eastern Michigan. It wasn't until his final year there in 2022 that he got added as the special teams coordinator, freaking out of nowhere. Just so happened that year he had the MAC Kicker of the Year. Probably doesn't hurt your reputation. And then, boom, you're an assistant special teams coordinator for the Cardinals. The funny thing is, it kind of becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy. If we hire him, then he is rapidly ascending, right? 2022 is the first time he ever did special teams. He jumps immediately to the NFL after being in the MAC. And after 3 years with the Cardinals, he is now officially an NFL special teams coordinator. Boom. Elite, rapid rise. So if we hire him, then it becomes a good hire. If we don't, then, he's not ready and it's not a good hire. But we'll see how it goes. Obviously, Gannon has a lot of insights into him and his capabilities and whatnot. It's a fun little note from Dara. It says, Javon Bullard allowed just 0.63 yards per coverage snap as a nickel cornerback this season. It was the second best in the league behind Kyle Hamilton and Derwin James, and second best behind Kyle Hamilton. Derwin James and Minka Fitzpatrick were third and fourth. So, kind of goes to, there's some stupid stat. Okay, well, look at the stat list and tell me that it's a stupid stat. Maybe it is. Maybe it's fluky, but if you look at the guys around Bullard, I think that they tend to be pretty good players. You know what I'm saying? So, maybe it's a coincidence. It might be. Something popped up today that's kind of scaring me a little bit, and so I figured I'd mention it. Arif Hassan posted, breaking, Teamworks to acquire Pro Football Focus. He posted this to his little private thing or whatever, so I could only read part of it, so I had to do some of the research on my own. Teamworks apparently is a massive company. And their strategy has been to build a couple things, but more so acquire. They're buying up everything, including some pretty major things. And essentially their entire thing, their entire business plan is that you've got all these different sports. You got the NCAA, college football, NFL, a couple other sports that they work with, I guess. They all have 20 different apps that they use for different things. There's your grading, there's your NIL, there's stuff for college athletes and making sure that they're eligible to be a college athlete, their school classes and all that stuff. You got your diet, you got your exercise, you've got your film, you've got all these different things that go into, all the different things that these people use. And their whole deal is we're going to make one app to rule them all. And so on the positive side, you could certainly look at this and say, well, they have a lot of really cool data points and they use a lot of more in-depth technology and tracking tools and all that kind of stuff. And so they can make PFF significantly better. In fact, PFF, and we talked about this a while ago, has been horribly run. They were bought by another company, and that company just ran everything into the ground, and everybody started leaving, and it was a really toxic work environment. It was bad. And so you get some new ownership in there that provides a new vision and some new tools, and PFF can just go to the frickin' moon. kind of regain a little bit of its reputation that has just been absolutely plummeting the last couple of years in particular. The problem is that Teamworks, like a lot of these other companies, kind of like Sumer Sports that I've been excited about for, I guess hoping with some level of optimism that they look at some consumer-facing products, they tend to be more B2B. They work directly with teams, right? This was the whole like, oh yeah, nobody uses PFF. Bro, not only do NFL teams use PFF, all 32 teams use PFF. And not only do all 32 teams use PFF, but the biggest thing that scares me is that PFF has dedicated a lot of time to the consumer side of things. The consumer side of things has been mocked and ridiculed and has completely tanked their reputation. And it makes up almost none of their revenue. Think about how massive PFF is. How many people buy subscriptions? It is a fraction of the money that they make selling to NFL and NCAA teams. Why in the world would this Teamworks company that does not have consumer-facing anything, they don't have social media, they don't have a YouTube channel, they don't have any of that crap, and they're known for coming in, stripping things away, rebranding it as Teamworks this, that, or the other, and selling it directly to teams. So that's their MO. That's what they do. And so PFF can help you by providing other solutions to your customer base, which is, let's just say NFL teams. It's broader than that, but let's just say that. Then there's all this other crap that you're not familiar with, that you don't really know what to do with, and is more of a drain than anything else. You're going to have to hire and fire a ton more people. You're going to have a massive bloated staff for a relative small portion of revenue. Why not just strip all that away, keep the grading, and we can actually improve that and help use our technology for the graders to be able to better grade and do provide a better solution, and then sell that to the teams. I don't know what the plan is, but it makes sense to me. If I was running Teamworks, I would say I don't give a crap about all this other nonsense, the YouTube channel and all that garbage. I don't care. This is not our market. This is not what we're looking to do. So that could go either direction. It may go basically nowhere. Maybe they just keep it as it is, and all the extra stuff gets added to the PFF special things that go to the teams. Or maybe they'll add another tier that you can buy into to get better PFF data. I don't know. But I have a feeling PFF is either going to get a lot better, or it's going to just completely go away. And that leaves us with the question of who is going to fill that void. Will Sumer Sports step into that void? Probably not, because they tend to be more B2B, although they're dabbling, right? Again, they had that cool thing at the end of the season with some stats. They're showing different things that, I don't know exactly who it's for. I'm guessing for NFL teams or college teams or whatever, but I don't know. Probably the most likely would be Sports Info Solutions. They've been kind of and I've used them in the past. The only real issue I have with Sports Info Solutions, which is very similar to PFF, as sort of a, PFF was more like Sports Info Solutions when they started, and then they were like, let's pretty it up and make it more like Madden grades, and I think that kind of made everything worse because it provided less granularity and more just whatever, I don't know, nonsense. But the only issue I have with SIS is it's not the best interface in the world. It's a little clunky. It's actually a lot clunky. And it's super expensive, like way more expensive than PFF is. I won't really have a choice but to resubscribe to that if PFF does go away, because I'll need something. And the problem is with most statistics, they only provide for like quarterback, wide receiver, whatever. But if there's anything as far as like how is Zach Tom performing, I don't freaking know. I'll be at the mercy of ESPN's pass blocking win rate metric, which is just the worst thing in the world. Anyways, we'll have to keep an eye on that. That'll be kind of a big deal as far as what happens there. Hopefully it's kind of a nothing acquisition and not a lot changes. Little bit of further context from Tom Silverstein. I had mentioned that I hadn't really seen a lot of second interview type stuff. He apparently did a little bit of digging. Matt LaFleur's special teams in-person interview schedule is Devin Fitzsimmons was on Tuesday, Colt Anderson Wednesday, Sam Sewell Thursday, Cam Accord, however you say his name, on Friday. We could have a hire by the weekend. I would kind of guess that's what it is. So I guess it doesn't really look like this guy is necessarily the front runner. It just so happens that was the one that got found out about, I guess. And Tom Silverstein, again, doing a little bit of digging to get some more details on that. But I would kind of expect by the weekend or early next week, they'll probably be able to whittle down who they end up hiring. I'm not going to go through these guys again. We already did that. It's not super interesting information. We'll do a little bit of a deeper dive once the hire is actually made. And then I think I'll just sign off with this. Just kind of a reminder. Ken Ingalls says less than 2 weeks until the start of the NFL league year. The start of free agency trades, and the Packers will need to be cap compliant for 2026. We should start hearing about some moves and restructures in the coming days. All right, I'll get out of here. Again, I want to let the events, I guess, actually happen. So tomorrow we'll probably plan on going over some of these, especially some of the interesting news on some potential Packers targets. But I'll talk to you then. Have a good one. Bye-bye.